Welcome to my Hebrew channel, Miel Hebraica, more Hebrew honey, and it's based on what we read in Psalm 119, 103, how sweet your word is to my taste, sweeter than honey in my mouth. And when we study the scriptures, quite often the Lord is teaching us something very interesting about His person and His will for our lives. And today I'm going to start a series on Malakim Alef 19. This is 1 Kings 19, chapter 19, and then verses 1 through 8. I've already done a reading of the chapter in Hebrew. Now we're going to do some study of what it is. So let's take a look at it. This is Elijah. Okay, Elijah means God is Jehovah is God. Okay, Jehovah is God. And we begin in 1 Kings 19:1. Ahab told Jezebel everything that Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. Vayeged Achav, this is my father is my brother is my father. Okay, he's some relationship to the father. So Ach is brother and Av is father. And also it can be someone who should be loving, Ahav. So it was one of the more evil people of the scripture. He at times would try to follow Jehovah, but many times, of course, was listening to his wife Jezebel. And this is what we have next year. Vayeged Achav le Jezebel. Jezebel is here. It's actually in Hebrew it's a question. Isa is where is Baal? Where is your husband? Where is your husband? And this, in a sense, is what she was like. She was princess from Sidonians, and then married into Ahab. Ahab wanted to, one of those marriages that was a political alliance to ally himself with basically the Lebanese people up on the coast. And so she brought along her paganism, brought her prophets along, and tried to introduce the worship of Baal to the country. Of course, with tremendous trouble, and as we see here, there was also the death of the prophets eventually when Elijah met up with them on Mount Carmel. And so while you get the Achav la Jezebel, and Jezebel told Yaged is when you're standing in front of something to explain something. It's based on the preposition of neged, okay, to be in front of, stand in front and report. Okay, so this is just simply told or stand in front and reported to Jezebel et kol asher, that all of that which. Here's a comma satuv, so it's an O. And what we have here is this is et is it indicates it's a direct object marker, and this direct object marker introduces this entire clause right here, and also introduces this particular. You have one here and you have one here, and yes, let's see. Asher harag. Okay, this verb right here is the action verb for this particular direct object marker, but this one right here introduces these are accusatives based on this verb right here. But you get et kol asher asa, and he told all that he had done. Elijah, Eliyahu. We have an atna right here, so this one should be a comma right here. Eliyahu ve'et kol asher, and everything that harag, he had killed. So now here, this is Ahab reporting, and this is now Elijah who had killed. Harag is to kill. The third person singular past form right here. Harag et kol, and of all Hanabim, all of the prophets, and these are the prophets of Baal right here. Baharav. We have a siluk right here, and this word normally harav would be segol, but this segol has been pushed up to a comment, so because of the siluk. So yeah, Baharef, okay, Baharef, by or with or in the sword, okay, with the sword. Vetishalach Jezebel. Now here, this is Jezebel. And she sent. This is so Jezebel sent. Malach, okay, Malach It's very interesting. Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah saying, may the gods punish me and do so ever so severely if I don't make your life like the life of one of them by this time tomorrow. V'tishalach Jezebel Malach, and she sent, this is a third person feminine prefix on this verb right here. Shalah is Shin Lamed Chet is to send, and she sent, and then Jezebel sent. Malach. Malach is messenger. When it's a human or a person being sent by a person, it is messenger. When a malach is sent by God to speak to us, then it becomes an angel. So it's malach that can be used in both contexts. And here in this context, we're going to has to be translated as messenger. El Eliyahu to Elijah, lemor, saying. Okay. Now when we see this little phrase here, saying, right here, notice that we put quotation marks here because what follows it is direct discourse. And so we're actually more or less kind of hearing the words of Jezebel. These are the words coming from her mouth, in other words. And so it puts it in the present tense, and this is very strong language right here. And ko yashun, thus or may, Elohim. Now Elohim is quite often used for Vayomer Elohim in Genesis 1, God. If it's a true God, we translate it singular. If they are false gods, and here this very obviously are the false gods that Jezebel is serving, it gets translated plural. Okay, so Elohim, Yashun. Incidentally, there's, if you look it up in the dictionaries, and so this nun is called a paragogic nun. Okay, paragogic nun. What does that really mean? It's actually an emphatic nun. Okay, something that they wanted to bump up the strength of this one. So Yashun, and it's also the kind of thing that would be, and this one's also the kind of thing you would use with an oath. In other words, I'm going to swear by this. Okay, I'm going to make this really strong. So Ko Yashun, and may they do. Okay, Yashun Elohim. Beko Yoshifun. This one's to add on to. Okay. And may it all be added on to as well. Okay, may the gods do this, and may the gods add it on as also same paragogic nun or same emphatic nun. I just prefer the term emphatic nun, so that's what this thing is doing here. Yeah, shoot. At the start, I'd find these nuns, and I was wondering what in the world they're doing, but they're mostly used, or always used in situations where things have to be emphasized. So this is what we have here. Yo shifun ki ka'at, because at the time of tomorrow. Okay, this time tomorrow. Ke'et. Now there's a comments right here, so it's a definite time. Okay, at the time tomorrow. At this time tomorrow. Okay, et mahar, tomorrow. Mahar also means something that comes along quickly. Okay, so but it's also used for tomorrow. Ishim, I will make. Okay, Ashim, it nafsheha. This is also a direct object marker, to your soul, to your life. In this context, it's best translated as life. Et nafsheha, to your soul, your life. As, and so it's comparative, the same as. Nefesh, the soul or life. Ehad, of one of them. Okay, so all of those were killed, of course. I'm going to make you just like one of those guys that had been slaughtered there by the Kishon. So very strong, very emphatic threat on the part of Jezebel. She had not learned anything from this battle, and she was rising to destroy the prophet that had served the Lord on Mount Carmel. Everybody else, wow, what a great victory. And probably Elisha believing that, oh yeah, now he'd won, but no, all of a sudden he finds himself at the bottom of the heap again and facing a very, very terrible situation. So then Elijah became afraid and immediately ran for his life. When he came to Beersheba, that belonged to Judah, he left his servant there. Okay, and now this is a very interesting verb right here. Now, this verb, I think it's one of the few times where we can actually kind of see a verb that in Hebrew would have one of two obvious roots. Now, the word yareh, to be afraid, is yod resh aleph. In other words, exactly these consonants that are right here. However, if you're going to make it a third person, Elijah, you'd have to put another yod in front of it, and quite often that does happen with this verb. I've seen many cases where that happens. Va-ya-re'. Now, there isn't a second yod, and there's a dagesh here, but there's not a second yod in front of this one. So, without that yod, the next verb in line for this root right here is yod resh aleph hey. Okay, and this would be to see. Now, some of the translations are going to take it that way. They're going to, oh, and he saw the danger and ran for it, or he saw what was happening and took off. Now, this translation right here does cover the word afraid, makes it, considers it yod resh hey or yod resh aleph as the root, and that root means to be afraid. So, and the reasoning for this is that's what the Greek translation also saw right here. If obeses, entonces, and so this translation sets itself up or derives itself from the Septuagint, from the Greek translation of this passage. So, and it fits the context very well. Now, for me, in Hebrew, this root, yod resh aleph, can represent actually both roots. In other words, he saw fearfully. Okay, he saw fearfully. He saw something that really made him afraid. Okay, so it's quite possible to use both senses right here, to see something and to be afraid of it too. Okay, va yareh ve yakom. Okay, and he jumped up. He got up. Va yelech, and he walked. He ran. It's walking, but yelech, and he went. Al nafsho, on or with, because of his soul, his life. He ran for his life. Yabo, and he came. He arrived. Bar Sheva, the well of the pact, the well of the oath. Beersheba, okay, Beersheba right here. And this is in Judah. This is an explanation. Yeah, in a sense he's put himself out of reach of Ahab, although Ahab sometimes would make deals with the king of Judah, and this wasn't entirely a safe place for him to be. Asher le Yehuda ve Naach. Okay, now here this is an interesting. The root here is nun chet, and that is Noach. Okay, and so he Noached his servant. In other words, he gave his servant rest. Might be the sense of left him unemployed or just left him there. Okay, he left him there in rest, or left him there in comfort. At Naro, his servant. Okay, Sham, there. Okay, Sham. And then he went on a day's journey into the wilderness. He sat down under a broom tree, and he prayed that he might die. And he said, I have had enough. Lord, take my life. I'm no better than my father's. Hu halach, okay, and then he, okay. This verb really doesn't require a pronoun like this. It's a pronoun that's in the front of it, an independent pronoun, but it's put there so that it's emphatic then, okay. And then he halach, and then he walked, he went. Bamidbar, into the desert, into the journey, into the wilderness. Bamidbar. Desert and wilderness here, it's simply anything south of Beersheba is going to be wilderness. So Bamidbar, Derech Yom, a road of one day. Okay, Derech Yom, Derech Yom. Double segulate, lovely Milel right here, lovely accent. That's one up to Milel. Yom, Va Yabo, and he arrived or got to. He arrived. Va Yabo. Yashev, and he sat down. Tachat, underneath. Rotem is a broom tree. It's got all kinds of spines, and even to this day, they use them for making brooms. It's got lots of long spindly branches on it, and they're good for brooms. Tachat rotem ehat. Now, this one is a ketiv kare. The ketiv is ehat, and this happens to be a construct form of ehad, but the Masoretes took a look at this and said, that's not quite right. In fact, further on, you're going to see a correct use of this word. So they said, no, it shouldn't be a tau, it should be a dalet. Okay, isn't a big difference really. Makes a lot of sense this way, makes a lot of sense that way, but this one's grammatically just a little bit more correct. Okay, ehad. Okay, rotem ehad, a broom tree, one broom tree. Yeshal, and he questioned. Okay, he really examined. This is a self-examination of his soul. Okay, and he questioned his soul to death. Okay, in other words, he sat there pondering with himself and interrogating himself. This word, we've seen it in many of our recent studies when they call on Baruch to come and tell how he got the scroll and all that stuff. This is the same verb right here, sha'al, and he questioned. Okay, reflexive of it, yesha'al et nafsho, his soul, lamut, until death. In other words, did a lot of soul searching here. Va yomer, and he said, Rav, this is a big deal. Okay, ata, this time. This is stretching it out. Okay, Rav is lots and stretching, and this is widened out way too much. Okay, Rav ata. This time it's way too much. Yahweh, Jehovah. Kach, take. Okay, this is the imperative form of lakach. Okay? The normal root would be lamed kof chet, and this is the imperative form of it. Kach, take. Nafshi, my life, ki, lo, tov, because it's not good, or I'm not as good. Anochi, I am. This is first person singular pronoun. It's the larger version of it. Ani would be short. Anochi would be the long version. Anochi. Me avotai. It's comparative mem right here. Avot is my fathers, of my fathers, compared to my fathers. That is, I'm not as good as my fathers are. I'm no better. Yeah, I'm no better than my fathers. And he lay down and he slept under the broom tree, and suddenly an angel touched him, and the angel told him, get up and eat. Ve yashkav, and he lay down. Ve yashan, and he slept. Tachat, underneath. Rotem, the broom tree. Ehad. Okay, now this is the single broom tree. Now this time again, it does have the dalet rather than the tau. So this is what it should have been in the previous one, but it's okay. Here we got rotem ehad, vehine ze, and hey, look at this. Okay, suddenly there. Okay, this is a demonstrative pronoun right here, and suddenly there, an angel, nogeach, touched him. Probably tapped him, just nogeach, bo on him, and said to him, rise, eat. Okay, rise and eat. Said to him, rise and eat. And we're into verse 6 here, and then he looked, and there at his head was a loaf of bread baked over hot coals, and a jug of water. And so he ate and he drank and he lay down again. Va yabet. This yabet is the same bet, the same, and the way of remembering this one is the tet is a very much basic root consonant. In other words, it's something that's pointed at, something that's marked with a little cross. And this is the same thing that the same verb that was used for Lot's wife when she looked back at Sodom. In other words, he looked. He paid a lot of attention. Okay, this got his attention. In other words, he really looked. Okay, vayabet Vehine, and wow, hey, something happening. Mera'ashotav, from at close to his head, okay, close to his head. Rosh is of course head here. Merasho, at the head, or the point of the head. Merashotav, ugat, and this is a loaf. Reshafim, okay, on coals, okay, hot coals. Reshafim, on a fire, okay, cooking. Very fresh bread, apparently. Somebody, they're making fresh bread for him, the angel, apparently. Shafahat, and a jar, a jug, shafahat, a maim, of water, okay, water. And here in Atna, closes off this clause right here. So this is, Atna represents that period right here. Va yochal, and he ate. Yashet, and he drank, okay, he ate. Va yochal, va yashet. Yashav, and he returned, he got back to. Yashekav, and he lay down again, okay. Nice food, but might as well sit down and have a good siesta after such a nice meal. And then the angel of the Lord returned for a second time and touched him, and he said, get up, eat, or the journey will be too much for you. Vayashav, Malach, and the angel returned. Vayashav, to return. Incidentally, the Shin Bet, they've used the Yod Shin Bet for to live, but so for the Shin Bet for to return, the root that they'll use for that one is the Shin Vav Bet. So the root of this one is to return, okay? Shin Vav Shuv. But here, that obviously that middle surik disappears quite easily. So, but the context will tell us it is Yashuv. Yashav, and returned. The angel returned. Yahweh, the angel of Jehovah, returned. Shenit, a second time. Va yaga bo, and this is the same thing again. Touched him again. Okay, bo in him. Va yomer kum, and he said, get up. Echol, eat, get up, eat. Ki, because Rav, now we've seen Rav before, because Elijah's been complaining to the Lord, Rav, this is too much for me, and the same too much here is going to be in terms of the journey. So the angel says, if you think you had too much, you're going to get too much again, okay? Rav, expand your horizons here, okay? Rav mimeche, too much it will be for you, compared to you, it will be too much for you. Hadarech, okay? You got a siluk which bumps this segol up to a kametz, okay? Haderech, normally it would be a double segol right here, but this has been bumped up to a kametz, okay? Hadarech, okay? Onto the road, okay? The road. And so he got up, he ate, and he drank, and then on the strength from that food, from the power or energy of that food, he walked 40 days, 40 nights to Horeb, the mountain of God. Yakom, okay, this is very much kames hatuk, it's a closed syllable, and so this kametz has to be an O right here, okay. Yakom, va yochal, and he ate, va yishte, and he drank, okay, yishte. We've seen this verb already. The previous time we saw it was yishte with just I think it was another Shabbat in the end here, but this one's yishte, and he, okay, there's an atna here, which means this is the division of the verse right here. He ate and he drank, okay, yishte, va yelech, and he went, he walked, bekoah, in the power and the strength and energy, bekoach, ha-achila, and this one's ochal, to eat, and of what is there to eat, okay, so the same root. This one's a verb form of that root, and this one's a noun of the same aleph kaf lamed, okay, aleph kaf lamed, and this is the food, feminine form because of the hey ends that way. This on the front of it here is a article, of course, so we got achal chachala on the food of the food. Hahit, that food. Okay, this is demonstrative pronoun right here, that food. Arbaim, 40 yom, 40 days. Arbaim, 40 nights. Laila, Arbaim yom, Arbaim laila. Ad, until reaching. Yeah, I don't put anything in here. Yeah, ad, until, up to. Har ha-Elohim Horeb, okay, to the mountain of God, that is Horeb. Okay. Here they inverted, in the translation, they inverted the Horeb and the Har, but it's Har Elohim Horeb, okay, the mountain of God, that is Horeb. Very same place that Moses had been to receive the tablets of the law, and now it's time for Elijah to have a little face-to-face chat with the Lord. So this is a very key part in his ministry. The Lord had spoken to him previously, of course, but now he's into his next phase of life, and this is a very important step for him. God bless you, and God strengthen you as you also walk towards the Lord. May God bless. Until the next time.